Hello and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. Why? Because, my dear friends, sometimes we need to be reminded that we can see the world beyond pony. No matter how awesome our six little mares are, we do need to experience life beyond the main six. And that is why I'm here. So, today, I had a couple of little plans here and there to create some very excellent stories, but before I did, a friend of mine, Ann Harmonic, gave me this link to a Power Rangers fanfic. One that was based off of its own season. Now, we all know how I complain about Mikan. How I yelled that his little Power Rangers as Starfleet stories don't work. And we all know how I complained how his Power Rangers style doesn't do it justice. So, how do you make it work? How can you make a Power Rangers as the story work? Why, allow me to show you. And this story called Power Rangers Guardians of Gaia. Enjoy as we here at the Berry Memorial Library are proud to present Power Rangers Guardians of Gaia by J.A. Phillips. Chapter 1, Guardians of Gaia, Awaken, Part 1.
Long ago, there existed a hidden realm called Gaia. It was a source of great mystical energy, tied to the natural elements of the world, like fire, water, and wind. It was a safe haven for peace-seeking folk, be they humans, animals, or other forms of life. However, as the realm possessed mystical energies tied to the natural elements, there existed one that fed off evil thoughts, and, over time, tried to consume all others. The element of darkness. Unfortunately, there existed a group of guardians that protected Gaia from the dark, using a powerful silver light to cause the darkness to withdraw before it. No force of evil could match it. But when the time came for the final battle, the light vanished, and the guardians simultaneously disappeared from the spreading dark. None live in the world of humans that know what happened to Gaia on that fateful day. However, its story was passed down as legend throughout many families. But all too often, mankind seeks to uncover the truth behind most legends. For Gaia, that day is fast approaching.
Nikki Markston let out a sigh as she flopped back onto the grass of the open field around her. She'd pretty much worn herself completely out of her karate class, and was more than happy to lay back and relax. Feeling tranquil and tired as she was, with the wind and sun across her dark skin, she couldn't help but let her eyes slowly close, nearly drifting off to sleep. As she was about to, though, Nikki saw the image of a red crystal in her mind's eye, shimmering brightly. From within, a large bird made of flame suddenly appeared, which screeched at Nikki so loud, she immediately bolted straight up, panting hard. That's the 8th time since I moved here, Nikki realized, clutching her chest. What does it mean, anyway? Reaching under her red t-shirt, Nikki pulled out the thing she had just saw. A red crystal, attached to a chain necklace, hung from her neck. She had been carrying it for years, after her great aunt had given it to her as a child, and told her to guard it with her life and never take it off. But now, ever since she moved to Silver Hills to attend college, she has been having the same image of a phoenix, of some sort, coming for the crystal to screech at her. The first 2 times were in her sleep, but since then, they had been happening seemingly at random, and those eyes that the phoenix had. Every time the vision happened, those eyes looked more and more like it was trying to tell her something important. Ugh, thank you, Grey Aunt Hilda! Nikki thought she fell back again. Your need to pass down some stupid family heirloom is going to turn me into a freak someday. Hey there! A voice cried as suddenly a face of a girl appeared up over Nikki, causing her to yelp and roll away. Look at the young woman over. She looked to be a year older than herself, with blonde hair that was streaked her pink and purple. She was wearing a violet long-sleeve shirt and sky blue jeans. Her eyes were fixed on Nikki's crystal, who, upon realizing it, quickly put it away under her shirt. Jeez! Give a girl a heart attack! Nikki yelled, getting up and dusting off her black knee-length jeans off. Who are you, anyway? My name's Malin, the blonde replied. More importantly, today is your lucky day! You got some kind of weird crystal, and I'm the head of the crystallography club. Nikki slowly began to squirm back a bit. Okay, how does that exactly make that my lucky day? Well, 'cause I know that look! Madeline explained, her face getting uncomfortably close to Nikki's. That look that says you got this weird crystal that you had no idea where it came from. Well, I bet you I can help you figure it out. Nikki smiled somewhat nervously. Thanks anyway. But I can't let you do it and study or tinker with my crystal. See, it belongs to my great aunt Hilda, and she told me to never let anything happen to it. That it was super important to never take it off and carry it with your life? Madeline finished. The two girls looking completely mystified for a moment. So Madeline suddenly got the biggest smile that Nikki had ever seen on a human being's face. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh!
Oh my god, it's a blonde Pinkie Pie!
Which means it's surprise. Without warning, Madeline immediately grabbed hold of Nikki's wrist and hauled her back to the school. Nikki yelping and cursing the whole way, as this seemingly insane woman dragged her past hundreds of students that looked like they were completely bonkers. Eventually, Madeline stopped at a door near the dorms, opening it with a Yahoo! She's here! Nikki looked at the people inside, all looking surprised to see her. One was a red-haired boy in a green t-shirt, black vest, and blue jeans leaning against the windowsill, and reading a book about tornadoes while listening to music. The other was a brunette boy wearing an orange long-sleeved shirt and blue cutout jeans, going through a scrapbook on the table, filled with pictures of himself at a farm, with presumably his family. The last was a blonde girl in a blue tank top, jeans, and glasses about Nikki's age, playing World of Warcraft on the computer at the desk in the corner. Madeline just looked at the group excitedly. Her chest puffed out as she took in a deep breath. Attention, everybody! Madeline proclaimed. Our fifth member has arrived! Nikki blinded and shook. Wait, what? Why am I seeing Pinkie Pie?
That's it! This girl is voiced by Andrea Lieberman! I have declared!
Professor Charles Snyder huffed, making his way through the dark and murky tunnels. He had come to this island, unmarked by most maps, because of rumors of caverns deep in the mountain. Atop the island held artifacts dating back thousands of years, possibly connected to the lost realm of Gaia he'd been studying for decades. However, it had been 2 weeks since his expedition team arrived, and they found nothing.
Hey, Dad!
The professor heard his son, Drayden, yell from further down the tunnel. Come and check this out! Charles rolled his eyes. He had no idea why he agreed to let Drayden come along. After all, the boy should have been starting college in Angel Grove. Yay! Instead, here he was, fussing over every single find, no matter how significant or insignificant it was. Then again, he supposed he was very similar on his first expedition. So who was he to do anything but be patient with the lad?
What is it, Raiden?
Charles asked, freezing his son, only to have his jaw drop into sight.
Oh my.
Sure enough, right there before them was a large statue of a dragon, facing towards a unicorn carved into a wall. It looked like he was about to engage combat with the unicorn, but at the same time, it seemed apprehensive about it. The professor reached a hand down and dusted the statue off, examining the density of the dust now left on his hand.
This statue must have been called 8 centuries ago, Charles declared, possibly even whole millennia.
So, you think this has anything to do with the Gaia legends? Drayden inquired, looking the statue over.
It's entirely possible, yes.
Professor Snyder answered, his eyes suddenly falling on an indigo crystal embedded in the statue.
Wait, what's this?
Let me introduce everyone! Madeline said to Nikki, ignoring how confused the girl was, and pointing to each of the rooms inhabited by one. Tall and Irish at the window is Patrick, farm boy is Dirk, and that's Layla, my geeky little sister. Hey! Layla whined. Just 'cause I'm your geek and your little sister doesn't mean that has to be my thing when you introduce me. What do you think you're doing playing WoW? Ella demanded, stomping over to her younger sister. I asked you to check out those crystal findings in Santa Ana. Patrick rolled his eyes, closing his book and walking over to Nikki. I'm really sorry about this, miss. Monsieur Moxon, Nikki replied, but everyone just calls me Nikki. Right, Dirk suddenly piped up. I saw you in fencing class the other day, and... Whatever! Madeline interjected as she gave Layla a noogie. Sorry today, Nikki is our 5th member. Well, time out, Nick responded. Why am I suddenly being dragged into this group? Because you've got one of these, Madeline answered. She teared her shirt and pulling out a violet crystal on a necklace, very similar to Nikki's. Layla's eyes widened. Wait, he's got one too? Nikki just stood there, dumbfounded and confused. Sure enough, one by one, the others all pulled similar crystals on their necklaces out. Patrick's was green, Layla's was blue, Dirk's was orange. And decided this, Nikki pulled out her own red out. The others were now intrigued by this turn of events. Whoa, Dirk said, amazed. Madeline was right. There was going to be another one besides Layla. See? Madeline screamed loudly. My intuition is never wrong. Wait, what's going on? Nikki demanded. Patrick sighed, putting his book and headset down. Last year, Madeline started this crystallography club after all 3 of us met on campus for the same story. We were each given crystals for relatives that we were told to safeguard and didn't know what they were for. So, she decided to start the club to research them, and we knew that Layla had one, and would be joining when she finished high school. But Madeline kept insisting there might be another member, a 5th one to join up. And you guys thought I was crazy nutso, Madeline accused. Actually, that would be most of the college campus that thought you were crazy nutso, Dirk corrected. We all thought that you were just looking for an excuse to keep the club alive. Whatever. I like her! She's quickly becoming one of my favorite characters on this whole thing. I like her. Madeline replied with a roll of her eyes, taking her necklace off and holding her crystal out. The important thing is, we've got 5 members with 5 crystals, all for different places, but with the same story. Now I'm sure we can find a connection. Come on, crystal bump! The all 4 just looked at Madeline like she was crazy. Liz just smiled at the lot of them, keeping her crystal grip in her face. Don't leave me hanging. Patrick fenced the visitor's nose before removing his necklace. Dirk and Layla following suit. They all brought their fists together. The crystals gripped tightly and eased. Nikki just looked at them all, feeling the desire to up and take off. Still, she had to admit, after carrying her crystal for as long as she did, the idea of meeting others with crystals and trying to figure out where they all came from was enticing. So, with a little hesitance, she pulled her necklace off, crystal in fist, and butted against the others. Before anyone could say or do anything, though, the instant their fists made connection, the crystals all lit up, and they could all feel their hands kept where they were. A strong gust of wind seemed to shoot out from Patrick's, which slammed his door shut. Just as currents of heat came off of Nikki's, sparks shot off of Madeline, drops of water dropped over Layla's, and the floor trembled under Dirk's feet. The 5 could only watch in fear at what was happening, as the 5 crystals soon became creating a vortex of red, green, blue, orange, and violet light all around them. Oh, it has been... I don't think we actually have ever had an Orange Ranger. And I've got to admit, this is probably one of the more unique team set colors we ever had. It's about time we got a violet mane. Suddenly, just a striding figure ran his finger across the indigo crystal into Hesiu and began to sparkle, illuminating the cave. He soon found his hand magnetized to the statue, unable to leave it as the room became filled with indigo light. His father, who had been inspecting the unicorn carving, looked to his son in alarm as the cavern began to shake. Quickly went over to him. Dryden, something's happening, Professor Snyder yelled. We have to get out of here! I can't! Dryden cried, unable to remove his hand from the statue. I'm stuck! Charles looked on incredulously, but decided to try and grab Dryden's hand for pulling from the statue. Instead, however, a blast of indigo light shot out from the crystal, along with a thick, black smog that came from the statue's jaws, knocking him back against the wall. He groaned as he tried to pull himself up, but his body was becoming enveloped in a light and black smoke. Dead! Dryden yelled as the smog suddenly began to swirl around him too. I smell a 6th Ranger! What the heck's going on now? Nikki demanded. red beams changing to resemble spinning streams of fire. I don't know! Patrick yelled, the green energy becoming a whirlwind. This is getting scary! Layla admitted, the blue light resembling a whirlpool. Everybody, hang on to something! Dirk suggested, the orange beams turning into a sandstorm. Geronimo! Nana cried happily. The violet light became swirling lightning, and in one final flash of silver light, the five all disappeared from the room, the crystals and all, leaving a star-shaped scoreless rock on the floor in their absence. Again, can we keep Madeline? I want to keep Madeline. I like Madeline. She's quickly becoming one of my favorite fan rangers. Nikki moaned as her eyes opened, laying in the grass. She blinked as she felt the grass around her. Began to wonder if the past few minutes were some bizarre dream she had after passing out in the field. However, upon sitting up, she realized that wasn't the case at all. She wasn't at the college anymore. She was in the middle of a forest somewhere. The grass wasn't even green. It was a rusty-looking red. The heck? Nikki wondered, getting to her feet and dusting herself off, only to notice the object on her right leg. Looking closer, she saw that it was some kind of golden red blaster, with black straps keeping it holstered to her leg. Drawing it, she noticed that the barrel resembled a bird's beak, almost like the phoenix she saw in her vision before. Okay, calm down, Nikki told herself as she felt freaked out. Just think back. There was a crystallography club room. Those people with the other crystals. And wait, my crystal! Reaching into her shirt, Nikki found her crystal necklace was, in fact, back where it belonged. Still, while that was a relief to her, Nikki soon remembered that she had taken it off. So at some point between the freaky light show and waking up in the forest, someone had put her necklace back on and strapped some sort of blaster to her leg. She eyed her crystal suspiciously, only to see the image of the phoenix inside, staring back at her. What's happening? Nikki demanded. Where the heck am I anyway? Oh my gosh. It's a Lili jewel! For those of you guys who don't watch Super Sentai, Lili jewels come from the Sentai Die Ranger. They are what kept the Thunder Swords intact. In the Japanese version of Die Ranger, the Die Rangers would use the Lili jewels to summon the Thunder Swords. I don't know, but I'm loving the sight so far! A familiar voice answered. Spinning around, Nikki saw the source of it. Madeline, who was admiring the forest around them in awe, and had a similar blaster strapped to her leg. At first, Nikki felt relieved that she was okay. Then felt very angry. You! Nikki accused, stopping over. You did this somehow! I know you did! I wish! Madeline countered. This place looks amazing! And I gotta say, I love the accessories that go with it. Maybe it's some kind of virtual reality simulation. Nikki heard Layla suggest from behind a tree nearby. Would explain the new tech we got out of nowhere. Oh, hey! Good to see you're out, Nikki. Nikki blinked. Where are the boys? They went ahead to find some way out of here, Layla explained. Walking out from behind a tree to reveal she, too, had a blaster holstered on her leg. And I kept saying that this is a virtual reality simulation, that there's some way to just walk out of it. But nobody ever listens to me. Especially our gung-ho leader. Gung what? Madeline interjected, looking angry. Layla rolled her eyes. Not even close to what I meant, sis. Nikki groaned, listening to the two argue. However, as they did so, she couldn't help but notice the shadow casted from the tree Lila had walked out began to stretch across the ground. In fact, it looked ever so much like a hand, even more so when, to Nikki's astonishment, it actually came out of the ground, looking to claw at Layla's ankle. Without even thinking, Nikki instinctively held out her blaster, aiming for the hand. Layla, behind you! Nikki shouted, opening fire in the hand with energy bolts, just as Layla leaped to her left. One shot, the hand ripped clean down from the shadow, as did the rest of its body. It was bipedal, almost human-like in shape, but it was ink black, with a single red eye in the center of its head, extremely Lion-like, and its fingers were long and pointed like claws. Despite the lack of a visible mouth, it growled at the girls as it backed away from it, Nikki keeping her blaster trained on it. Oh, hi mooks of the series! How are you doing? Stay back! Nikki yelled at the creature, who growled threateningly back at her. Who are you? What do you want? Nikki! Madeline cried, eyes fixed on something behind her. Quickly as he could, Nikki swung her blaster back, casting a similar creature on the side of the head with the barrel of her blaster, seemingly breaking the blaster in the process. The creature roared in response, but let themselves open as Nikki punched its single eye, knocking it in the eye, causing it to evaporate in the air. The heck? Nikki wondered aloud. What's it? Natalie shouted, tackling Nikki to the ground as the remaining creature actually shot its claws at her, just missing thanks to Madeline's save. The pink and purple streaked blonde then pulled her own blaster free and opened fire, causing the creature to scramble away. Thanks to the save, Nikki said, wiping sweat from her brow. Sorry about... Yeah, nothing, Piggy, Madeline proclaimed, getting back to her feet. Right now, we gotta find the boys. Yeah, preferably before any of those things come back, Lila noted. At which point, Nikki and Madeline glanced over her shoulder. Running time? Move! Nikki screamed, causing Lila to spread forward. Just then another creature swung for her head, barely missing. The trio began running against the creature, flanked by at least a dozen or so of more of its kind gave chase. Isn't that just like Mooks? Once one pops up, 1,000 more come in its place. Then you have to get the exterminator or at least more to start kicking its butt. Nikki and Layla stayed behind Madeline, trusting her to know where the boys were. Sure enough, after what felt like a couple of minutes of non-stop rubbing, Patrick and Dirk came into view. Unfortunately, they seemed to be running for their own pack of a dozen creatures, and right towards the girls. Darn you two! Madeline cursed as they all came together, the creatures forming a circle around them. What kind of men run in fear for their trouble? I didn't see you put them in fight, boss! Patrick nodded, clutching a stick in his hands, despite the blaster strapped to his and Dirk's legs. We all have one? Nikki realized. What's the deal with these anyway? Looking down at the blaster, still clutched in her hand, Nikki's eyes widened as she saw it wasn't broken at all. Rather, the barrel was bent down to reveal a compartment of some sort. In fact, looking at it now, the compartment's edges looked quite familiar in shape and size. Hello, Morpher! Look out! Dirk yelled as the creature suddenly lunged behind Nikki, grabbing it from around his waist and slamming it to the ground. With this, it was suddenly on as the creatures ran in to fight the group. Patrick started swinging his stick around like a staff of some sort, clonking a few in the head, but was quickly disarmed and knocked to the ground. Madeline shot down a couple of the creatures, but soon turned her attention to the one that was swiping at Lila, getting hit in the back and knocked aside, Lila soon following. Nikki used her karate and Dirk his grappling to try and fend the rest off, but it was now effectively 2-on-24, and they were quickly knocked down with the rest. Nikki groaned as she hit the ground, crystal falling out of her shirt. As it lay there, she looked upon its shape, then looked back to her blaster and the compartment. A complete match. With that, she grabbed her crystal, pulling it from its chain, and placing it in her blaster's compartment, closing it shut. The eyes of the Phoenix, the head on it, glowed red, and the blaster hummed as if coming to life. Oh, this is going to be awesome. Guys! Your crystals! They go in the blasters! The other four blinked in surprise. At first, in disbelief, but Leia quickly examined her blaster, shifting the barrel down to reveal the compartment. She's right! But what will happen if... Who cares? Let's try it! Madeline exclaimed, inserting her crystal into the gun and closing it shut. The eyes of the Phoenix going violet. With a groan, Patrick, Dirk, and Lila all followed suit, getting back to their feet. They held their blasters out, just as the creatures began to attack again and opened fire. The result was a flash of red, blue, green, orange, and violet lights that all knocked the creatures back before enveloping the group. Now what? Nikki demanded as her body enveloped in light. Guardians of Gaia, awaken! A voice called out from nowhere as the light grew brighter. Suddenly, Nikki watched as a red costume materialize over her body, with white gloves and boots, a silver belt with a holster for her blaster, and another for a red and silver short sword, a white star in the chest, and a red helmet with a black visor, and silver accents to resemble a phoenix head. Looking to the others, the same was happening to them. Except Patrick's was green with a hippogriff helmet, Lila was blue with a Leviathan helmet, Dirk's was orange with a behemoth helmet, and Madeline was violet with a thunderbird helmet. In the distance, the girls all had skirts coming down to their thighs. Okay, This day has officially gone to trippy territory, Nikki exclaimed, looking her suit over. You guys probably know the typical camera arrangement. They show the belts, the holster, the helmet, and they all stand looking like complete and utter badasses. Are you kidding me? Madeline cried, and Nikki could tell just that. Under the helmet, the girl had the biggest smile on her face. We're Power Rangers? Best day ever! You know, that's exactly my reaction if I suddenly found myself with a morpher in a Power Ranger suit. One of the creatures hissed and swung a claw at Madeline as he was fangirling out, sending sparks off her suit as he spun in midair. However, despite being hard enough to knock her off her feet, the Violet Ranger was able to take aim and shoot the creature in the eye, and land on foot and knee as the inky monster evaporated. Nikki gasped as she suddenly remembered the last one evaporated like that. The ones he punched in the eye. Go for the eyes! Nikki yelled. That's their weak spot! Close it! Patrick shouted back as the group immediately split off with their own targets. Pat squared off with a trio creature, holstering his blaster and leaping up to grab a low branch from a nearby tree, kicking at his opponents. After catching one in the eye, the Green Ranger flipped off the branch and did a mule kick into another, sending it crashing headfirst into a tree. Once on the ground, he pulled his short sword and slashed at the remaining creature's legs, knocking it down before slashing it across the eye, destroying it. "Alright," Patrick muttered, looking over his sword with barely contained glee. "Look at the eyes! You've never been so kind to me today." Weep! Leia cried as he ducked and dodged under the branches of the small pack of creatures. A little help here, guys! I'm not really much for fight! Oof! Leia groaned as he took a harsh kick to her behind, knocking her flat in the face of the dirt. Blue Eyes trained her eyes twisted this, feeling incredibly angry as he drew her blaster from her holster. Didn't anyone ever tell you not to kick a lady there? Leia cried, immediately shooting down 4 creatures one by one, scoring perfect shots. Especially not a lady who beats suckers on Halo for a hobby. Nikki cut down a creature before a flurry of nails shot forward, knocking her sword from her hand. Back against the tree, more opponents came out to face her. One ranger started to look to her belt, seeing a shield-like emblem blazing on the buckle of her belt. Feeling a natural urge to take over, she pressed her thumb to it, sending out a pair of red lights. They took out the pair of twin swords, each resembling a wisp of flame, perhaps even a phoenix wing. Oh, of course the Reds got a sword. Red Ranger always has a... Okay, scratch that. Almost always has a sword. Then you got to have that one Red that has to have a bow staff. Connor! Heat sabers! Nikki yelled, somehow immediately knowing the name of her weapons. Leaping forward, she immediately cut down a pair of foes, ducking and spinning, sending waves of heat off her blades, scorching any creatures that came her way. Cool! I want in on that action! Madeline exclaimed, ducking a slash from her opponent, and pressing a shield buckle to at least a pair of violet daggers shaped like feathers. Lightning daggers! Spinning the daggers in her hands, the Violet Ranger went to work, stabbing at the opponents closest to her. Then she spotted one trying to get the jump on Dark nearby. It was blasting targets from over a tree. With a loud cry, Madeline threw one of her daggers at the creature, only for the dagger to suddenly turn into a thunderbolt and latched onto her hand, while stabbing the creature in the eye before immediately returning to her grip. I want that dagger! Also, is it wrong of me as a Power Rangers fan to look at these weapons and think, my first thought is, how are they going to come together to form a major cannon? Oh, come on, you know it's coming! You all know it's going to happen! You all know that since this is a Sentai with individual weapons, their weapons are going to combine together to form a cannon. It happens every time that there's an individual weapon! Don't believe me? Take a look at Power Rangers history and check it out for yourselves. It even happens on Zeo. Okay, I reiterate, best day ever! Madeline cheered. Foot launcher! Leia shouted as she brought out her own weapon. A large cannon bounced on her shoulder and held in both hands, looking like a tidal wave ending in a leviathan's open jaws. Some more creatures came toward her. She has opened fire, sending wave-shaped blasts of energy that leveled them all with ease. Leila's eyes widened, looking over the cannon in awe. Holy cow! The Blue Ranger commented. I am so keeping you! Stormnauts! Patrick yelled as he lifted the air. drawing a lance with blades on the ends, resembling a hippogriff's claws. When the spinning slash, he immediately brought down two creatures. The Green Ranger then gave the lance a twist, separating it into a pair of small trident-like weapons. Have I mentioned I really love the Blue Ranger's weapon? The Tricera Ranger's weapon? It was one of my favorites. Before cutting down foes while flipping around to avoid attacks. "Yo, Patrick, look out!" Dirk shouted as he leapt off a tree he was perched in, bringing out a two-handled battle axe resembling a beaver's head. "Quick axe!" Patrick immediately put his lance together, falling off the ground as the Orange Ranger brought his axe down, cleaving through the earth and sending a small tremor through the ground that knocked the creatures off their feet. Pat's jaw nearly dropped straight through his helmet, and decided once he had landed back down on his feet. "Alright, we're over again, boss?" the Green Ranger asked. "Yeah, you worry about Vanessa in a fight. I'll just knock these suckers down," Dirk replied with a smirk. Patrick rolled his eyes as Dirk, as the last 8 creatures were all knocked to their group. Nikki, Layla, Madeline all joined up with the boys. Just as Layla noticed the hilt of her sword had a hand compartment on it. Sure enough, the compartment was shaped like her crystals. I wonder what happens when we use these, the Blue Ranger inquired. Deciding to find out, the group all took their crystals out of their blasters and placed them in the swords, causing the blades to glow their own respective colors. The creatures roared at the Rangers, charging at them, only to receive a series of elemental slashes for their attempt, destroying them all. "Woohoo!" Madeline cheered, leaping up and down. "That was awesome!" "That was really violent," Layla commanded, putting her sword away shakily. "I'm starting to think that this is a computer simulation."
"Of course, and what made you think that?"
Patrick asked. "Guys, we need to figure out what's going on, like right now," Nikki reminded the group. "Well, if I had to guess, we got teleported to some weird world, and our crystal and blasters are actually morphers of some kind," Dirk surmised, causing everyone to look at him with slumped shoulders. "Oh, you meant we need to find out how all this happened and how to get home, huh?" "Come on, you guys," Madeline whined. "Am I really the only one that wants to stick around for a bit longer? I want to stick around, Madeline! Give me the power weapons!"
"And you would be the first one, then."
The group all spun around to find the source of the voice. The figure standing before them was a skinny-looking fellow, in a chainmail top and black jeans. He had gray skin, almost like stone, long raven locks flowing over one side of his face, and amber eyes peering out from under his hair. He was holding a long black staff with a wyvern head at the top, holding an amber jewel in his beak. He was smirking at the group menacingly, despite his somewhat smaller stature and being outnumbered.
"After all, Gaia, it is a dangerous place these days,"
the stranger went on, gripping his staff in his right hand.
"The blots are just about everywhere, and they'll attack anything that moves and isn't their own, especially if someone were to send for them."
"And why don't I get the feeling that someone would be you?"
Patrick accused, keeping his sword drawn. The stranger replied, giving a small bow. "Guilty as charged, I'm afraid. The name's Walker, a Shadowmancer."
Nikki blinked. "Shadowmancer? What's that?" Walker grinned slighter still.
"It means that I'm able to warp shadows, like the ones the blots come from, to create brighter and stronger creations."
Suddenly, the creatures all heard a loud thud further down the forest, ground shaking in his wake as Walter slowly stepped to his left.
"Oh my, I believe that's one of them now."
Nikki felt a certain sense of dread as he and the others looked straight ahead. After a few moments, the source had made itself known. A massive creature, a blot as Walker called it, several stories tall, tearing up trees as it marched along toward them. Walker gave a small giggle as he vanished into a column of black smoke, leaving the Rangers to their fate. "Okay, I kinda want to go home now." "And of course I'm going to do the next chapter, because gosh darn it, if I just can't leave a Power Ranger season without at least showing off the Zords at least once. It's Power Ranger tradition after all." Nikki looked the situation over. On the one hand, she and her new friends were now Power Rangers, a 5-person fighting force. Ahem! Sometimes 3! That the military couldn't keep up with. On the other hand, there was a giant eclock monstrosity, or blot as it was called, stomping towards them, tearing at the forces around them as it went along. It couldn't run, but something like that big, with long legs as long as it had, would eventually catch them, meaning they only had one option. "Let's try to hit it with everything we got!" the Red Ranger suggested, heat sabers in hand. "Are you nuts?" Lila demanded, despite getting her flood ranger ready. "That thing could probably destroy us both in one hit!" "No, she's right," Patrick said, gripping his storm lance. "That thing will just pick us off for the time that we run. Better to try your luck as a group." Madeline lied, pulling her lightning daggers. "I'm in! Let's take this sucker down!" "Well, I'm not going to be the odd one out," Dirk exclaimed, his quake axe held both in his hands. The team looked at each other, giving a quick nod, before charging forward. Leaping at the creature's knees, or what they guessed were his knees. "Look, you guys are not Carter Grayson! Don't try it!" Nicky and Patrick slashed across the left, while Madeline and Dirk took the right. Layla blasted both hard. This caused the giant blot to stumble back a bit, as the Rangers all landed on the ground, drawing their blasters. Placing the crystals back in, the group held down the triggers, preparing a charged-up shot. Released, surrendering a ray of fire, wind, water, and earth and lightning-based attacks to the blot's chest, knocking it down hard and shaking the ground. "Yeah!" Madeline cheered, looking to the rest of the team. "That's what we think of giant monsters!" Sis?" Layla muttered. "Celebrated a little too soon." The Violet Ranger turned to face the blot. Sure enough, it was getting back to its feet, despite only having a single eye to work with for its whole face. It was sincerely angered. In fact, the eyes seemed to be glowing, like it was charging up. "Hit the dirt!" Dirk yelled, as a massive red beam shot out, blowing down the trees as they managed to avoid the blast. They just managed to get back to their feet as the blot raised a hood over Patrick. Found himself pinned under a tree in a mess. "Oh, man, bad time for the luck of the iris to fall," Pat moaned, desperately trying to pry himself free. "No!" Nicky screamed, leaping as hard as he could at the blot, somehow managing to land on the creature's shoulder, surprising her at herself at how much leaping power the crystal provided her. She blasted relentlessly into the blot's eye, causing it to stumble away from Patrick while roaring in pain. "Of course!" Layla observed, as she and the heirs lifted the tree off of Patrick. "Even at giant size, the blot still has the same weak point!" "Then I think it's time we ride this guy out!" Patrick declared, spotting a tree laying across sideways the heirs. "Dirk, any up?" The orange ranger nodded, patting the blunt end of his axe. All the while, Nicky was still wildly trying to avoid Watt's claws. "You got it!" With that, Patrick leapt over the side of the top of the tree, causing the other side to point up. Once that was done, Dirk ran over, with a huge swing, whacked his side pointing back up to the ground, launching the Green Ranger into the air. As Pat neared the blot, he let out a yell and stabbed his storm lance forward, nailing the creature in the eye and causing it to fall back a little. Planting his feet down, Patrick then ran across the head and upper torso of the blot, dragging its lance across its way, cutting a glowing green slash down its front. Finally, he let out the creature's chest, as Nicky did its shoulder, both rolling across the ground as the blot exploded to black smoke. "Not gonna lie, that was pretty awesome," Nicky commented between pants, her suit powering down as he extended a fist for Patrick. The Green Ranger laughed wickedly, likewise returning his civilian clothes and giving Nicky a fist bump. "Yeah, just don't ask me to do it again." "That was sweet, you guys!" Madeline shouted, as the others ran over to join the two, all of them demorphing. "I didn't think it was statistically possible to beat that thing," Layla admitted, as she and Dirk helped Nicky and Patrick to their feet. Dirk smirked at this. "And I didn't think it was statistically possible for you to admit the statistics come up on the wrong side." Layla just grinned right back. "Well, I suppose it had to happen sooner or later. Guys," Nicky interrupted, looking gravely over their shoulders. The group all turned to face where Nicky was. There was blood turning cold in sight. Within moments, more and more blots were beginning to appear, some giant size like the one they barely managed to track down. Soon enough, blots were forming behind them as well. Then all around, trapping them in the middle of the circle. "And now we're going to die!" Dirk muttered. Just as the blots began making their way menacingly towards him, however, the five suddenly found themselves standing in a circle of silver light. It then launched a beam of energy straight up around the team, causing them to glow their ranger colors. Then they turned to beams of light that simultaneously shot up into the sky and towards some uncertain location. Walker frowned in annoyance at the image being shown to him, and the black face of the fireplace before him. Fireplace? Fireplace? place? That guy knows how to be classy! Just when it looked like he had gathered enough darkness to obliterate the humans, Dave went and pulled a fancy act on him. He gripped his staff in anger as he cursed the bots for not attacking as soon as they formed, thus giving them a chance to escape. I wouldn't go blaming them, Walker. Walker gritted his teeth as he turned to face the figure that entered the dimly lit chamber. A tall woman with the same grayed skin, raven hair, and amber eyes met him, wearing black and red demonic-looking armor. Ah! The chick villain! Every bad guy in Ensemble's got to have the hot chick villain. After all, you're the one who summoned them. If you want to get them to get the job right, you have to be specific with your commands.
Go away, Darkia, Walker commanded. This room's my sanctuary, not yours.
Is that really any way to treat family, Walker? Darkia asked, putting on a face of mock hurt. And here I just wanted to check in to see if the rumors of humans in Gaia were true or not.
Walker growled, the black flames of the furnace fading away as he walked out to confront his sister. They are, in fact, true. Seems Gaia has some new guardians, called themselves Power Rangers.
Yes, a group of multicolored heroes that emerged on multiple occasions throughout the human world's history. Darkia recalled from her studies. If memory serves, they saved the world a number of times for great evil, and they possess powers and weapons similar to the Guardians of old. It only makes sense that the new Guardians of Gaia would be among their ranks. But why now, and after all this time? Walker scratched his chin, thinking it over, before snapping his fingers.
Of course! The crystals!
Must have opened a gate between worlds. Darkia cocked an eyebrow, confused. But wasn't there one crystal that...
Yes, I know. Meaning there's more investigation to be done. For now, I'll instruct the bots to seek out the humans and destroy anything that gets in their way. So bring that lot out of hiding?
Just in case, you may wish to add this to their ranks, Darkia suggested, drawing a stone figurine from her belt and tossing it to Walker. Shadow Master clenched it in his hand and looked over the black Minotaur figurine, smirking evilly in anticipation. Nikki blinked as the light finally died down, revealing the five of them to be standing in the middle of a large stone chamber, lit by 5 torches, each burning one of the crystal's colors. Just behind them was a large crystal globe, turning very slowly. Lining the walls were bookshelves filled with thick books. A wooden podium of sorts stood just before them, a book laying open on top of it.
Okay, well now we'll hurry,
Patrick wondering, quickly spying Layla inching towards the podium.
Hey, what do you think it's doing?
Just checking something, Lyra replied, inspecting the book. On the pages it was open to, there were 5 creatures, almost machine-like in appearance, color-coded to each of their crystals. Okay, this is pretty interesting. Looks like these creatures are tied to our crystals somehow. Madeline took a look, her eyes widened. Hey, the violet one is a Thunderbird, just like the one on my helmet when I morphed. Come to think of it, these all look like the creatures our helmets are patterned after.
Well, that only makes sense. They are your Gaia Zords.
If I spun around to who said that, standing before them, stroking a long white beard, was an elderly-looking man in gold and silver robes, holding a wooden staff with a unicorn head on top, its horns shining silver. This man smiled to the group, in a friendly manner, walking over to them. No. Gandalf!
Greetings, the man said warmly. I am Jabbar, the last wizard of Gaia. I see my teleportation spell brought you safely enough.
Teleportation spell? Nikki asked. You mean you brought us to the same world? Jawar shook his head.
No. Only to the ancient library. It seems you were a bit cornered by plots, though I have been tracking your progress since you have arrived in Gaia.
That creep Walker called this place Gaia too, Dirk nodded. Is this really a whole different world from Earth?
Yes and no.
The old wizard replied, mostly the globe as it suddenly showed a faint outline of continents over what is a smaller holographic image of Earth.
Gaia exists in the same place as Earth, providing it with nourishment and life, or rather it did, for who knows how many millennia until the Dark Times began. Since then, the Earth mostly had to make do on its own. of its own natural resources, and what little energy can be spared while keeping Gaia intact.
What happened? Lila inquired, still holding a book.
This world has ties to each of the natural elements, like fire and water.
Zalwar explained, as the globe powered down.
One day, the element of darkness grew too powerful, by slowly but surely consuming energy from the other elements. Such an imbalance caused the world to spiral out of control. The Guardians of Gaia sought to use the power of the silver light to revert the darkness to its previous state. It seemed to be working for a time. But then, when the most crucial and critical battle began, both the light and Guardians vanished, along with the crystals that allowed them to harness their powers.
Crystals? Nikki exclaimed, reaching into her shirt and pulling out her own, was a return to his chain upon demorphing. You mean like these?
Yes, those exact crystals.
Zalwar confirmed, as the group all brought out the crystals.
I believe the Guardians may have forcibly been sent to Earth. They were scattered around the human world, with no way to return. They simply chose to keep those crystals protected in their family lines, until the day came when the gates between the worlds opened again, which didn't happen for thousands of years.
Why now though? Patrick wondered aloud, holding his crystal. Is it because the crystals all got gathered in the same place, or is there something more to it?
I don't know, but your crystal arrival with the crystals is a surefire sign that you are the new Guardians of Gaia.
The elder wizard went on.
Your passing through the realms even afforded you the Crystal Blast Morphers, the weapons developed through Gaian technology to harness the power of the crystals. Just as I believe that further tapping into power will allow you to summon the Gaia Zords, the companions of Guardians of Gaia.
Don't you just love it in Power Rangers when all these ancient mystical figures always seem to have these advanced weapons like guns, cannons, giant 500-foot mecha that can turn into giant they can combine to turn into an even bigger mecha that allows them to smash monsters? Don't you just love it when these ancient races do that? Jeez, next thing you know, an ancient race will develop a belt that'll turn you into a bugman. Lena's eyes switched to dimension, causing her to hold the book open. You mean these creatures? Or are they machines?
They are both, created through the natural elements, given the minds of living creatures, the bodies of war machines.
Zalwar answered, gently taking the book from Lila and placing it back at the podium.
I was studying about their use back in ancient times, when I noticed you were in trouble.
Wait! Time out! Nikki interjected. All of this sounds pretty dire, and as much as I hate to turn my back on people that need help, we need to find a way back home. Heck, once we're there, we can call in the military, or the other Power Rangers of our world to come stop these plots back to where they came from!
Sadly, though you somehow managed to open the gates between worlds, they shut behind you.
Zalwar said, looking apologetic.
I don't possess the power to keep it open, and I still have yet to determine if there's any sort of way to use the crystals to open the gates again.
Dirk's shoulders slumped. You mean we're stuck here? Oh, man. Madeline frowned at the group, throwing her hands out. Come on, you guys! How can y'all be down? Look at us! We're Power Rangers in an awesome new world with cool weapons and even Zords! Tell me none of you have ever dreamed or prayed with that! I was Madeline! Can I stick with her? I call fun girl! Of course I have! Dirk yelled back. Just, not like this. Not trapped in some other world. I mean, I was far enough away from my own folks in college, but this? Nikki sighed, looking into her crystal as she listened to the two argue. Suddenly, the sound of them was drowned out as she saw the image of the phoenix from before, only now clearly resembling the picture in the book of Gaia Zords. It looked into her eyes, and she looked back. In that instant, she finally understood the meaning in its eyes, and what it wanted from her. To fight alongside it and save Gaia. As their eyes locked, Nikki could only think of one course of action to take. Let's do it, she muttered, getting everyone's attention. Seriously? Patrick asked.
You're sure about this?
Look, there's nothing else we can do until we can find a way home, Nikki reasoned. And are we really willing to ignore a world of danger like this? Well, if you were named Kevin from Captain N. Before anyone could say anything more, the torches suddenly burned brighter. The globe spun to show a specific section before highlighting what was a red circle. Zalwar quickly dashed over to the globe, inspecting the location it was highlighting. What's going on now?
That's a warning signal. Meaning someone right now. Dots are attacking someone.
Zalwar explained as the globes created a holographic image of a lake, where female centaurs were running from blots.
There's a sentiment filled with counter-rights. It doesn't fall from when you first arrived.
Dirk's eyes widened in realization. They went looking for us. They'll just strike anything and anyone in their path until they find us. What's that? Light demanded, pointing to the image of an ink-black minotaur among the blots, ramming down the trees with his horns.
That's unlikeness, Zora answered, stroking his beard. They're ancient creatures of the dark, trapped normally in figurines, unless given plenty of darkness to awaken. Walker must have used some of the blots to wake it up.
Dirk's fist clenched as he saw the centaur woman running in fear of the minotaur lightless.
Okay, now they ticked me off! Let's take them down!
That's right. We may be in a dangerous world. Monsters may be coming towards us, but no one harms the ticks! The others all nodded as Zalwar turned to them.
Remember, you're tied to the energy in your crystals, whether you realize it now or not. Call it from deep inside yourselves.
The group nodded, drawing their blasters as Zalwar raised his staff, teleporting him as he did previously. Within moments, they found themselves just up the hill from the lake, centaurs riding in terror. Some of the men had arrived with clubs and maces, but were little good against the blots, getting knocked away. One rather armored centaur doing battle with the minotaur lightless, but quickly found his armor pounded in before getting knocked to his side. Monster raised both fists, looking at the bring down the centaur.
Hold it, El Torito!
Nicky shouted, getting the monster's attention.
The minotaur lightless huffed angrily, black smog rising from his nostrils. Who dares call me a simple bull?
I think you made it mad, Layla pointed out, as blots began to form up around the monster.
That was the kind of the idea.
Nicky answered with a shrug. You ready to do this?
Patrick gave a nod. Well, with you, boss.
Hey, I'm the leader of the club, Madeline interjected.
Whatever. Let's take these blots down and save the centaurs, Dirk interjected.
There's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Nicky rolled her eyes, stifling a giggle.
Let's do this! It's morphin' time! At this call, the group all pulled their crystals from their chains, drew their crystal blast morphers, and inserted them inside.
As the blots came charging in, the team raised their blasters forward,
pulling the triggers and yelling, Guardians of Gaia! Awaken!
The multicolored blast shot out, shocking the blots away, before doubling back, coating the team with energy as their suits materialized.
Guardian of Fire!
Nicky yelled as her suit finishing materializing.
Red Gaia Ranger!
Guardian of Wind! Patrick called as his costume came on.
Green Gaia Ranger!
Guardian of Water! Lyra shouted as her suit formed around herself. Blue Gaia Ranger!
Guardian of the Earth!
Dirk roared as his outfit materialized.
Orange Gaia Ranger!
Guardian of Lightning! Natalie crawled as her suit materialized and ended.
Violet Gaia Ranger!
The five all struck a pose as a large bright flash shimmered around them, followed by 5 multicolored explosions.
Power Rangers! Guardians of Gaia!
Did you start posing as you started doing the roll call?
It's Power Ranger their distant, Trixie. Shut up! I had to! Bots! Tear them apart!
The Minotaur Lightness commanded, sending his entire squad to attack. Let's see. Where did I put Power Rangers Hero? Let's see. Here we go. Click. You guys are free to play whatever fight song you want. I got an insert song to play.
Gaia Sabers!
Nicky yelled, the team drawing their short swords. The Racers then dashed down the hill, scoring off with their own groups of blots. Nicky took on a group of 5, wasting little time with her motions and stabbing them in the eyes, destroying them, each of them quickly and efficiently as possible. The last one managed to cast a blade in his hands, but the Red Ranger simply lifted up a karate kick into the eye, causing it to evaporate into black smoke. A few feet away, Patrick kicked one in the shin, bringing it to his knee. Then he lifted up its back, landing on the shoulders of the other blots nearby one by one, slicing down to the blot closest to who he was perched on. Once he was down to 3, he lifted up and struck his sword and feet out different directions, catching all of them before doing a one-handed stand.
I'll give you guys this much, the Green Ranger commented. You make me look really good.
Further down the hill, Dirk shoulder tackled one blot in the gut, slamming them into the ground. As the 5 more blots came charging at him, though.
Man, Ron Rossaman music is playing heavily in my head, people!
Though, he lifted the block back up and proceeded to ram his ray through each and every one of them, knocking them all against the boulder. Lowering his crystal into his Gaia saber, the Orange Ranger then let out a battle cry as he sent an earthly slash through all 6 blocks at once, destroying them all. Looks like these blocks have been blotted out, Dirk joked. Madeline and Lila yelled as they leapt up and slashed down the pair of blocks before them, clearing the way to the fallen Centaur warrior. Once that was done, they immediately got between him and the Minotaur Lightless, keeping them apart. "You're gonna have to get through us to get to him!" Madeline told the monster.
"That's unreasonable,"
The Minotaur Lightless yelled, charging towards them. "Flag launcher!" Lila shouted, bringing out her cannon and blasting the monster hard. However, she was shocked to find the beast's horns pierce straight through the blast, giving him the chance to slam his hard skull into the Blue Ranger's gut and knocking her several far away. "Sis!" Madeline cried before turning to the Minotaur Lightless. "Oh, you're mine now!"
"Try it!"
The monster growled. "Lightning daggers!" The Violet Ranger shrieked, pulling out her personal weapons. Then, as she ran forward and slashed her daggers at the Minotaur Lightless, only to have it said slashes plucked by the creature's horns. Then, backhanded Madeline across her helmet, sending her sailing away and landing near her sister. "Madeline! Layla!" Nikki yelled as she ran over to the two, quickly followed by Dirk and Patrick. "You okay?" "Yeah, but that creature's horns are deflecting our attacks," Madeline replied, slowly getting to a knee. Nikki looked back to the Minotaur Lightless, particularly crimson points of its horns, formulating a strategy. "Dirk, think you can keep a hold on those horns?"
"Can't be any wilder than old Boris back at home,"
Orange Ranger suggested.
"Just keep them down so me and Pat can get a clear shot,"
Nikki ordered. Patrick smiled. "I think I got a plan.
"Let's do this!"
Derek nodded, charging the Minotaur Lightless, sword held high. However, as the beast took to block his slash, last second the Orange Ranger tossed his sword away and grabbed both of the Minotaur's horns, pushing down hard at them. Lightless roared as he tried to buck Dirk off, but as he held his ground firmly, grunting with all he had until finally he managed to bring the monster down to a knee.
"Now!"
"Ah, see? Told you! And defensible weapons all turn into a freaking blaster!"
"Heat sabers!"
Nikki called, bringing out her swords as she ran in and brought them down on the horn.
"Stormlance!"
Patrick cried, summoning his lance and stabbing towards the right horn. The two attacks hit their marks, slicing the Minotaur's Lightless horns off.
"Quake axe!"
Dirk roared, tossing the horns away and drawing his axe, sending it crashing against the Minotaur and knocking it several yards away. Once it was down, Lila and Mask managed to form up with the others, weapons drawn.
"Let's bring it together!"
Nikki commanded. "Ah, see?
Mickey knew the trouble already."
At this, she slammed the hilts of her sabers together, creating a bow. Dirk sent his blunt axe down onto the flood launcher, the heat bow connecting between the two. Patrick then disconnected the two halves of his lance, he and Madeline connecting them onto the bow.
"Gaia Blaster!"
The Rangers yelled, holding the massive weapon up and aiming it at the Lightless as it started to get back up.
"Fire!"
Pulling the trigger, Lila fired a massive, multicolored blast of elements at the monster. The resulting blast created an explosion, utterly destroying the monster and sending a puff of black smog sailing into the sky. The team cheered in victory as they disconnected their weapons. Seriously, sometimes these weapon combinations don't make any sense. I mean, have you seen the Zeo Blaster on Power Rangers Zeo? How does a pair of nunchucks, shield, sword, tonfas, and axes form into a shotgun? Will somebody please tell me that? Because I have actually seen the Zeo cannon in action. I still can't make sense of it. Walker's teeth grated together so hard, they almost shattered as he watched the images of the Rangers destroying his monster in the fireplace.
"What happened? The Minotaur Lightless should have been more than enough to obliterate them."
Darky Young looked up from the books he was reading and shot. "They destroyed it. They are stronger than I thought would be."
"Not destroyed yet," Walker growled, raising his staff over the fireplace. "Dark Staff of the Wyvern, make my Lightless grow!"
Suddenly, the Wyvern head on Walker's staff opened its jaws, and then spewed out a thick black smog into the fire, causing it to grow larger. Walker sneered evilly as this went on, feeling the Minotaur Lightless energy restored from far off. Opening up in the sky above the Centaur settlement,
The Rangers watched as the dark flame suddenly pumped into the black smog released from the monster. Ah, it's Zord time! I waited for this. Once it was finished, the smog reformed to the Minotaur lightless. Only now it was giant size, like the giant blot they fought earlier, and its horns were grown back. Worse, some of the giant blots he'd seen before began taking up formation around it. Alright, now what do we do? Nikki looked around, trying to think, with her eyes settled on her Gaia saber. Specifically, the section in the hilt that slid back into place the crystal in. Engraved on it was the face of a phoenix. Excuse me, Osirus, Live Reader over here. Are you a fan of Die Ranger? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of Die Ranger references here. This is like the third. Let's get into the smile as he realized the meaning behind this. If the blasters were morphers, then maybe the sabers were... Guys! The Red Ranger yelled, reaching down and tossing Dirk's saber to him. I got your sabers! I'll bet anything we need to use them to call the Zords! Dirk blinked, but placed his crystal back into the saber anyway. Sounds crazy enough! Let's do it! The others followed suit, placing their crystals into the saber. Then raised them high and called out, We need Gaia Sword power! Now! Flint Phoenix, Gaia Sword, power up! Nikki yelled, her sword sending out a radiant stream of light into a nearby mountain. The Phoenix sword taking off from it and with flames trailing it off the wings. Okay, if you guys want, you can use the original MMPR theme playing right now. Because it's playing in my head. Full volume. Green Hippogriff Gaia Sword, power up! Patrick yelled, a green beam firing from his saber into a cluster of clouds. Breaking out the Hippogriff sword, its barrel rolled through the sky. Blue Lithium Gaia Sword, power up! Goliath shouted, her saber releasing a blue blast into the lake. The flying sword lifting its neck out of the water with a roar. Orange Behemoth Gaia Sword, power up! Dirk exclaimed, the sword sending out an orange beam into the woods. The Behemoth sword stomping through on all fours. Violet Thunderbolt Sword, power up! Madeline cried, sending a violet stream of light out of her Zord to create a thundercloud in the sky. The Thunderbird sword sailing out through it. Once the swords were all caught out, the Rangers immediately leaped up and caught beams of light in the Zords, and pulled to the Gaia Zord cockpits. The cockpits consisted of a pilot's seat, a few switches and levers, and a large screen to show everything in front of the Zord sides. There was also a pair of empty compartments, one for the Gaia Saber in front to form a stick to see the Zord, and one for the Crystal Blast Morpher to the right of the seat to operate the Sword's weapon systems. One by one, each of the Rangers plugged their weapons in, receiving full control of their Zords. Come at me, guys! Nikki said over the comm. Going in! The Phoenix sword screeched as it swooped down at the giant blot, raking its talons across his eye. The blot stumbled back with a growl, giving the red Gaia sword a chance to open its beak and release a series of fireballs that blew the creature away. My turn! Patrick yelled, flying the Hippogriff sword into an alien roll, and creating a mid-air tornado that spun directly into a blot, taking it out instantly. Watch what I can do! Lila cheered, defiant its sword slithering across the land and tripping out the blot before rearing its head back and letting out a blast of ice, freezing the giant solid before it was smashed apart by the massive feet of the Behemoth sword. Hey! He was mine! I don't see your name on it, Dirk laughed, ramming the Behemoth sword's horns into another blot, knocking it down. And I didn't see your name on this! Twilight cried as the Thunderbird sword swooped in, firing thunderbolt-like feathers from its wings and destroying the fallen blot. Dirk sighed, soldier slumping. Hardy, flippin' hard. The Phoenix sword caught as it blasted the last blot away. Nikki cheering, Yeah! The kerosene small fries! Now, let's bring that lightless down! The Thunderbird sword flew in close, firing electricity from its eyes at the Minotaur lightless, only for the blast to be intercepted by the beast's horns. Madeline cursing her luck. Shoot! Those horns are blocking our attacks again! I got him! Dirk yelled, firing into Behemoth's sword towards the monster. The Minotaur lightness ran straight for it to two locking horns. The orange ranger grit his teeth, putting as much power as he could into his Zord and pushed on the Minotaur lightless. Escalating to the rescue! Patrick cried as the Hippogriff sword flew down, stomping its host down hard on the monster's horns and taking him clean off. Let's not to suck it up! That's my cue, Leia said, leaving the fine sword between and around the Minotaur's lightless legs, keeping him immobile. Fizz it, Nikki! Locked on! The Red Ranger responded, Time to put this bull out to pasture! With that, the Phoenix Sword swooped down, the light of the sun shimmering around it. It then began to spin into an alien roll, surrounding itself in flames, before flying straight through the Minotaur lightless. Emerging from the other side as a Leviathan said sword released the monster. Said monster let out one last roar before collapsing in an explosion. Black smog rising up before evaporating into the air. Nikki let out a sigh of relief, landing her sword, pulling her helmet off. Good job, team! Looks like Gaia's safe for another day. Easy to the back of her seat, Nikki looked down at the helmet in her hands. She knew this wasn't going to be easy. She never planned on being a soldier, or superhero, or for the like in her life. Karate and fencing were just a means of learning self-defense and discipline. Now, in the first week of college, she had been sucked into some alternate world with people she barely knew to fight against an evil she could never imagine existed. Even in the world she lived in with Power Rangers and giant monsters. And yet, she looked at her reflection in the helmet's visor. She couldn't shake the feeling that, in spite of the odds, they could do this. They could do this! By luck, fate, or whatever it was at work, they were Power Rangers now. As long as they stuck together, there was nothing they could do. This Vic? Dang, it's awesome! I'm saying that as a longtime Power Rangers fan, and as a guy who has done Power Rangers Fix since Power Rangers existed. And I love it. It does everything right. See, Mooks and Monsters of the Week can be done in a fixed story. Power Ranger style fights can be done. You just gotta treat it not as an episode, but every chapter and every story you're right, like its own little mini story. Like it's an adventure in itself. Like you're writing 26 episode mini stories, and you're doing it in a collection with an interwoven plot. That's what you gotta do. For the best example, look at the Sailor Moon manga, and how it managed to maneuver every single story into one whole. This also gives us a chance to look at the different characters, and gives us a chance to see how they act and react. And they are so likable. I find myself drawn to Madeline the best, mainly because she's so peppy and perky. But I also love Nikki. I love the other characters. Everybody just feels so whole and complete. It's like a really great story. And I am eagerly looking forward to, checking out the rest. And I will be checking out the rest. Well, that was one down. Thousands more to go. I'll see you next time.